I've been hearing how a lot of opticians, like many other businesses, are missing out hundreds of repeat bookings just because their reminder emails get lost in their patients' inboxes. But I'm going to show you that you can have your own AI system that automatically calls patients when they are due for a checkup and it books them into your calendar without you having to do a thing. Once I've shown you in action, I'll then go into why this could be the most important business opportunity in decades, as well as break down how it works. So let's give it a call, shall we? And there you go, and that's triggered. And there's the phone call right now. So let me make sure I answer that. Hello?
Hi, am I speaking with Harry?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Harry. This is Tony from Clearview in London. I'm just calling to let you know your annual eye checkup is coming up, and for the next 2 weeks, we're offering you 30% off your appointment. Are you interested in booking a spot?
Yeah, that sounds great, thanks.
Perfect. Just to confirm, I have your email as harry@adsamai.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Before we book it in, would you say your eyesight has changed since your last checkup?
Yeah, it's got a little bit worse, unfortunately.
Thanks for letting me know, Harry. Do you have a date and time in mind that works for you?
Yeah, is there 9 a.m. on next Tuesday work?
It looks like 9 a.m. isn't available next Tuesday, but we do have 11 a.m. open that day. Would that work for you, or is there another time you'd prefer?
11 a.m. would be great, thanks.
Great. I've booked your appointment with a 30% discount. You'll receive a confirmation SMS shortly. Before I let you go, do you have any other questions?
No, that's everything, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you. Have a lovely day.
Bye-bye. And there you go, it all even hangs up for me. And as we can see, that text has just come through. As you can see, it's already got the date of the appointment and everything information that I'd want in that text. This is something that I was able to completely configure the exact messaging that I wanted. It wasn't like AI had written this up. This was exactly the wording we wanted, and it just filled in with the information we need. So why does this actually matter then? Well, reality is, as of opticians or a lot of other similar businesses, when you have repeated customers, that in this case, the opticians, that their biggest driver of their profit is these eye tests, because most of the purchases are done after the eye tests, and those wouldn't happen without those taking place. And this was something that was talked about at an event I went to 2 weeks ago in the UK. And one of the business owners there, he was talking about how they helped opticians. Now, this was a true story about how they managed to turn around some of their earnings, because this was when two brothers, they had inherited the business from their parents, but they actually, in order to pay out the other family members, had to make an additional £250,000 in profit within a year, which was $340,000. Within those 12 months, when looking through, they realized that actually they weren't quite getting full capacity out of all their eye checkups. The average appointment, once they worked it out, was bringing in £500 or $680 of revenue, just because people that often went in to book eye tests ended up going away with contact lenses or glasses afterwards. So they were actually having about 40 bookings a week, and they realized they had capacity for 120 that they weren't utilizing. And within that time, they worked on a way to increase their bookings from 40 to about 105 a week in their 3 stores. And their earnings per year went from £2.5 million to £5 million. So really, what was this mattered for them? It wasn't about trying to get people to buy more expensive glasses or any other things. Really, their numbers came down to how many eye tests they got booked in. And that's what I'm going to try and show here now, that actually there's ways to automate that process now that previously would have had to be a very manual process, that we can now use AI, and in small amounts as well. That means more bookings can be done that otherwise would have taken a lot of time. So here we're going to go and look at it, and I'm going to do this in dollars. I know a lot of my audience are from the US. The average revenue you might get from a booking, you can put your own numbers in. I've just got an average here, which is about $350, because On average, about 70% of people will go and buy a frame or contact lenses. So that's the cost of the actual appointment and the glasses. Sometimes it'd be more than this. And the margins are pretty good in opticians. So you're typically seeing about $245 profit, gross margin, taken away from every booking that you get. So, really, these are something that you want to be increasing. So, let's just say you had 20 appointments a week, which is about 80 a month. But in reality, you actually had 50 different slots available you can offer. If you were to use them all up, then that would be more like 200 a month. So, what would actually look like if we could get those 30 more appointments a week? It doesn't seem like a ridiculous number to achieve, but say our gross revenue from 20 bookings a week would be seeing about $7,000. That would jump up to $17,500 just from having those 30 additional bookings, because the reality is you've already got the facilities, you've already got the running costs, your fixed costs end up staying the same. And so this is largely going to be adding onto your profit without you having to do big changes in the business or any big new rehires or aggressive marketing pushes. And then we can see here when we take into fact gross profit, that's about $7,000 additional earnings per week, which if you do it over the space of a year, you're looking at $382,000 additional profit. So I think this really goes to show just your bookings of eye tests are one of the most important things as an optician that people have to look into. Now, if you want to increase that number, well, one of the ways that we like to do that is by encouraging repeated customers from before that they're due for another eye test. But typically before, when it comes to emails, a lot of them get lost and there's no urgency to get that booked in. So what I did in the demo was that you saw we offered both a 30% discount as an incentive, but also that they could just book it over the phone there and then. And that's one of the biggest hurdles you can get over, is that people don't have to go and click on a link and book it in as a convenient time. They can just get it there and done. There was someone on the phone. It can be all arranged in. So what actually would be the cost of having something like this? Because obviously this sounds all great, but what if it takes a big chunk out of your $380,000? Well, for the AI costs, they're actually really low when you compare them to something like a staff member. I mean, we're talking about 11 cents a minute of call time, and if no cost at all if they're not running the phones. So if we were to say an average call is about 5 minutes, and you get, let's say we have to do 100 calls a week just to get 30 bookings. Now, the actual AI usage a month would be $230, which equates to about $2,760 a year, which is tiny really when you compare that to how much your staff would be to get someone in to phone people up, or the ad spend that would need to try and increase this number of bookings. And that is nothing compared to the additional revenue that you could be making just by getting in these extra bookings. It's really worth focusing. But let's just say in the perfect scenario that everyone you called booked up, because obviously this is 100 calls a week. It could be a lot less than this. It varies from time to time. And I'd say 100 is probably one of the worst case scenarios. Well, let's say if you had exactly 30 people, 30 calls, 30 people booked in, 5 minutes a call, then your AI usage is $76 a month. And that's equating to $900 a year, which is really not a lot of money for the amount of potential return you could be getting. And what's great about this is that you're getting a lot of additional benefits by just having a voice agent, because the great thing is that we can actually have them do 20 calls at once or more even. So if you've got a particular time of day that's really convenient to be calling someone, well, this agent can call them all in a short space of time. But what's also great about this is you can track your numbers. So if you know that after a certain number of calls, you've got enough bookings that you need, there is no need to have this continue running. It can just pause, and then you've got your bookings. It won't be racking up any more costs, and they're low as they are. And the nice thing about this as well is that we're getting reliable performance. These agents have gone through the same questions. They know everything about your business. They have perfect memories. So they're not going to forget any information. If anyone needed to follow up and ask a bit more information about the bookings and appointments, or what glasses that you have available, there's other information that the agent's going to be having perfect knowledge about what you do. And, this is trained on many different optician companies, so that it's got a very big knowledge about that kind of topic already. And also we got very visible metrics. We know that what results it's getting, because we can see by the number of bookings we get in, and we can store that on a dashboard. It makes it a lot more easier to see without having to ask a staff member to jot it down and then tell you their results. So now you can see really how much potential return you can get from this. And if this is something that you would like to explore further, this is something that I'm offering at the moment. So I got a link in the description. If you want to actually book in a call with myself, I can work with you one-to-one. We can explore if this or any other voice AI opportunities are ready for you right now. And that way you could expect to see kind of results like this within a very short space of time, because really all this is once it's working, you see the results pretty quickly. So how it works. We've built two different automations right here. So of course we've got the automation that schedules. So this is going to be running each day. It's going to look through who's due to be called up. We can actually put a limit on how many calls it does per day. You've got full control, completely customizing this. And I think I want to say the important factor is here. You can see there's no AI when it comes to scheduling the calls. You can integrate this into your existing workflows. You've got full control. You're not relying on this AI that's going to pick up the phone and call people in your contact list whenever you want. It's got no control of that. The AI is just basically nudged when it's ready to call. It gets given all the details about the caller, and it goes and performs its job. Now, it doesn't have full control of your calendar. We actually control exactly what it can do. And this is partly where it gives you certainty that it's not just going to go and book things in randomly. We've actually used code, and this is a platform called NA10. It's an automation platform, and a lot of different platforms like Go High Level and others have these sort of things built in already. But this just means we can code up, and there is no AI accessing any of this information. We can decide the actual output that the agent's going to get. And in this case, it's just the actual slots available in the calendar. That means it can't find out any patient's information in this calendar. Only the code is accessing this information and then returning it to the agent as just what times in the day are available. And same when it comes to booking. Now the agent knows that it is a good time to book in an event. Once it goes ahead and tries to book, all it's handing over is the date. That gets booked in with all the other information from the call about the user, about the caller. Then it gets formatted into the correct time, time zones included. If it goes through, that's when we trigger off a text to be sent off with all the relevant information. And then this here just means the agent's going to get confirmation that, yep, it's gone ahead and booked. That's all it needs to know. And, we've got other things as well, like canceling events. And there's a lot more things we can actually build onto this. I've just tried to keep it nice and simple just for the sake of this video. It can get very, very complex and take a long time. And I don't want to overcomplicate things in a video. This is just a simplified version that gives you an idea about what to expect. And the last thing I'll just quickly cover, what actually is the agent itself? Well, we're using a platform called Retail, which gives us the actual brains and characteristics of this agent. This is where it knows exactly how to behave. We can give in it guardrails, and I'll give you a quick breakdown. So you can see I've given it a step-by-step guide of how I want it to be handling this call, the kind of things it wants to say, in the order that I want it to. Given this is an outbound call, there's actually quite a lot of control over what happens. And we can even include a knowledge base if someone goes out of hand. But we can put in different notes and telling different ways to guide the agent. So if it handles certain things that is unexpected, it can make sure that it goes back on topic. And this has got its role and task. If anything comes up where they're going, say, can you make me a sandwich, or trying to get extra information or prank the agent, then the agent's just going to go, well, I'm sorry, this is not my task. I'm afraid I can't help you there. It's built specifically for this use case and only will behave for this use case. So it's not going to be abused any other way. And, in this case, I built it for London, so it knows the current date and time. It's got all that context and information about the patient that we specifically want it to have access to. So it's not going to have their actual eyesight or anything personal. It's not even got their address right here. So it's really private. And we've given it functions, and that's exactly where we can connect it to our automations. So once those are triggered, it knows when to check the calendar, and it knows when to book appointments, and that's when it triggers those automations for you. I think another quick more thing. So this is what we call the prompt. it's using ChatGPT as the knowledge base. So if you're very familiar talking with ChatGPT, you know this is going to be behaving quite a similar way. You know the intelligence it has. And also, we can choose different voices. Now, 11 Labs has got a huge catalog. You can choose American accents, you can choose male or female, different regional accents within your country. It's great. And you can preview them. You can find more on 11 Labs' actual website and just add it in with a voice ID code. So you can use any voices, including your own voices if you want. And then you get full control, make sure it fits the kind of style and everything's about your business. So that's just a really brief summary about everything that's covered in this. If you want to go through it in more detail, you know, I'm offering one-to-one calls down below. And this is really if you're a serious business owner and you really want to make sure that you know that you're missing out on potential revenue by not getting in as bookings or other types of things like that. And just having an agent that can answer the phone 24/7 or make calls on your behalf that would otherwise be time consuming and potentially just something you don't really like doing, then anything like that, you'll feel free to just book in using the link below, book in a call with myself. I'll go through everything we can potentially do for you, but also find out if it is the right thing for you, because obviously a lot of time and energy goes into something like this. And if we think it's actually not going to be worthwhile and bring you much of a return, then there's no point going ahead with it. So that's there if you wanted, but if not, feel free to watch some of my other videos. It might give you a better idea about some of the other things it can do. And yeah, thanks for watching.